5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Professor Schwartzman, if public health authorities flag dangerous medical misinformation or disinformation online for private tech companies, which have their own independent processes for assessing and addressing misleading content online, does that constitute a violation of the First Amendment?
Under existing doctrine, it does not. The government is entitled to engage in speech of its own, to take its own viewpoint and to communicate that viewpoint to private actors, including social media companies. And I don't know of any court or jury that's reached a final decision to contradict that conclusion.
Well, doesn't that accord with common sense? The police can speak to the public, the fire department can speak to the public, the water department can speak to the public. Is there something that would uniquely disable public health authorities from speaking to the public?
No, that's correct. Representatives of our government are elected to speak to the public about all these views.
All right. Some of my colleagues have decried censorship during the pandemic, but posts and videos pushing unfounded, scientifically unfounded claims about COVID continue to rack up views online. For example, Media Matters found that just 18 videos with lies about COVID-19 were viewed 20 million times. These are not just extreme opinions, they are falsehoods. No credible study has substantiated GOP claims that their viewpoints are being censored online. In fact, an October 2021 internal report from Twitter found that in 6 out of 7 countries studied, tweets posted by accounts from the political right receive more algorithmic amplification than tweets from the political left. In fact, a comprehensive report completed by NYU Center for Business and Human Rights found that by many measures, conservative voices often are dominant in online political debates. For example, outlets like Fox News and Breitbart received the most interactions on Facebook posts, more than any other media outlet on the platform. Mr. Chairman, I request unanimous consent to enter this report in the record.
Without objection.
Look, my friends, real government censorship in America is coming from the right. GOP-run legislatures are passing laws to stop teaching about slavery, Reconstruction, Jim Crow laws, white supremacy in our history. And right-wing groups are working all over the country to censor books like The Handmaid's Tale, 1984, Beloved. Even my book, We the Students, which was sponsored by the Supreme Court Historical Society, has been removed by the Texas State Board of Education. According to the American Library Association, last year alone saw the highest number of attempted book bans since ALA began compiling data about censorship in libraries more than 20 years ago. The more than 1,200 attempted bans last year constitute more than twice the already record-breaking number of attempted bans in 2021. Now, do these attempts to remove books from the library or to censor curriculum or to punish teachers for teaching about a forbidden or taboo subject, do all of these actually raise serious First Amendment problems, Professor Schwartzman?
They do, to the extent that the government is engaging in message-based or viewpoint discrimination and coercing private actors to conform with the government's view. They do raise serious First Amendment concerns.
All right. Well, why do you think the language of censorship is being used to describe totally normal activity by public health authorities to get the word out about a pandemic by people who are themselves implicated in trying to censor books and curricula and teachers?
I think that what's going on is an attempt to use the word censorship to suggest that the government is engaging in coercion of private actors when, in fact, what's happened is that social media companies and others are forming independent judgments about content moderation. And yet, on the other side, as the examples you've given suggest, we see serious efforts to curtail private speech.
All right. I want to at least start to get into the whole question of free exercise of religion. The Supreme Court in the Oregon versus Smith case laid out the general test, which is if you have a neutral, universally applicable law that incidentally burdens religion, that does not violate free exercise. But if you have a law that deliberately sets out to oppress religion or violate someone's right of worship. That does. That's the Church of Lukumi Babalu I case, right? Okay, so, well, if I get another moment, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to talk about whether we're talking about incidental burdens or deliberate efforts to restrict people's religious expression. Thank you for your indulgence. I yield back.
Go ahead and answer his question.
I would just say, yes, that correctly describes the constitutional test. And what we're talking about in most of these cases are incidental burdens on religion and not direct targeting.